So I'm just going to give you some memory joggers of some cost expenses of doing a business that can help you along the way. What's going on, everybody? My name is Salem, Soni, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Here I help individuals such as yourself be more motivated, discover their purpose, and understand that they're God's very best. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. So we're on this series where we're talking about how to do market research. And one of the things that I have at heart is seeing more African entrepreneur business owners have more success. I believe that they're the future of Africa. Today, I want to talk about something that is just as important. We're going to talk about the cost of doing business expenses in general. When you're about to jump into business, and one thing is sure is it's gonna take money to make money. It's just the reality, right? Like, nobody jumps in business unless you want to do a nonprofit. Then most likely this is not the video for you. Just being honest with you. The reality is most people who are watching this, you're interested in making money. So today we're going to talk about how to understand what are some of the expenses that you have so that when it's all said and done, the revenue minus the expenses equals the profit. Understanding what are those expenses, how can you minimize those expenses, still providing great quality, or sometimes how can you sometimes even increase some of those costs of business so that you can increase your profit. Sometimes you might not look at them as expenses, but investments. But before I get ahead of myself and we start talking about reinvesting some of the expenses back into your business, let's identify some of the expenses that may be. So I'm just going to give you some memory joggers of some cost expenses of doing a business that can help you along the way. Like if you all you want to sell is digital product versus somebody who wants to sell physical product, their expenses are different. For the lady who is fashioning and designing all this great African fashion and she wants to sell it through social media, realize that you still have both things to talk about. There's a physical aspect because you're selling an actual tangible product versus using social media as a distribution platform for growing your brand, actually transaction of whatever you're selling as an e-commerce platform, right? So one, you have to think about where you're gonna get the raw material. What does that mean? I remember when I was in Belgium in Europe and I went to a little city called Antwerpen in Belgium, and in Antwerpen I went to a wholesaler of African fabric. This gentleman was selling like all these wholesale great African fabric. Like, it was my first time being at such a venue. That's raw material. So if you're into design, if you're producing any type of like clothing line that's Afrocentric, you have to think about where am I going to get my fabric, right? How much is going to cost me? Whether you're buying it by the yard, whatever the case is. You got to know, like, how much is it going to cost you to get fabric? You have to also think about the cost of transportation. You gotta get it from where the raw material is to getting it to you. That's also a transportation cost. So you have to think about that. Let's say if you're gonna get it by yourself, like you physically gonna fly there, bring a suitcase full of that coming back. You have to think about how much is it gonna cost you based on, for example, the duty at the airport. How much is it gonna cost you just to bring that in? Like, you might have to. Are you gonna pay for that? Are you not gonna pay for that? I'm not sure. I'm not into that business, but I'm just kind of like, shooting off the top of my head right now because that's something that I vividly was there. Now, production costs, right? How much is it going to cost you to make the type of clothes you want? How much is it going to cost you from buying the sewing machine? Everything that you need so that you can design that beautiful dress, that beautiful top, that beautiful shirt that you're trying to make. Number three, you have to also think about now distribution costs. Now that you decided you've made it, right? The design is beautiful. So now you have to think about how are people going to hear about what you're doing? How are people going to hear about what you want to do? So in distribution, where is the best platform for people to get the stuff from you? I want to talk about distribution and advertising separately because I feel like I was mixing the two there. Advertising is how you're going to let people hear from you. That's an advertising cost. Whether you're gonna be doing Facebook ads, whether you're gonna be flyer ads, whether you're gonna be doing billboards, where you decide to do Instagram or build a brand through Snapchat, whatever the mean that you choose, those are advertising costs. Like, are you gonna pay an agency to do the advertisement for you? Are you gonna do that yourself? I know, for example, back in the days, I remember when I created a couple of Facebook pages, and one of the Facebook pages that I did was one of my biggest target audience was Africa. And I remember back in the days with Facebook ads, targeting Africa was so cheap. It was dirt cheap because most advertisers were not targeting African back in the days because they wouldn't see how profitable it was to target Africans, because most of them didn't have credit cards, they couldn't really buy things online, so they really were not targeting Africa as much. Now it's completely changed. It used to be like I would pay $1 and be able to get about, I don't know, maybe 50 to 60,000 impressions, which is a crazy amount of numbers. But now with $1, I mean, you'll be lucky to get like 4,000 impressions, right? So it's something that the shift has changed, and a lot more focus has come to Africa, and that's the reason why I want to help a lot of business-minded people, especially even if those in the diaspora, you want to do a business, maybe your potential audience might be Africans or those who are interested in Africa. You're gonna have to start thinking about those keywords. All that, you have to start counting how much it's going to cost me to do Facebook ad. You look at the ROI, the return on investment of Facebook ad versus, you know, billboard or flyers, whatever the case may be. I'm not trying to tell you which one to choose. Far from there, I'm just want to tell you to be aware that those are costs that you have to put into an adjustment of the cost of you doing business. If you're going to use an e-commerce platform like Shopify or Etsy to sell that fabric, what is that going to be? Like, how much is going to cost you, for example, to host that? If you're going to use a .com website, how much is it going to cost you to host the website? You also have to think about, are you going to be shipping it from your home? Like, you're going to hand package the thing somebody buys online, you hand package, you go to the post office and you ship it. Are you going to ship with UPS, FedEx, the US Postal Office? If you're shipping internationally, where are you shipping it? If you're in Africa, what are some of the things that you can be able to get the product to the customers? Or like, what are some of the systems that are put in place over there? The point is this: you got to think about all this, because they make up a big portion of your cost of doing business. So I'm gonna let you go with that. I promise that I will talk about investments. That's gonna be a different video. I hope this was helpful for you. And remember, one of the best ways for you to keep ahead of many of these expenses, do like an Excel file or some form of spreadsheet, or you can use more professional accounting software for those who already use those, or you can even use an accountant to do this for you. I just know that many of you guys watching are probably not at the point right now where you can pay an accountant to do this for you, so that's why I'm giving you examples that can be very, very cheap. So I want to encourage some of you guys as well. You may be doing something right now like, Salem, I'm not really seeing the results. I feel like there's a lot of expenses. Be smart about it. If you have an expense that is not necessary, sometimes that means you might have to cut it out. Or sometimes it means that instead of eating out, right, and go with your friends and going to the movies, you're gonna have to cut that out so you can save some of the money and put that into some of the other costs that are more necessary to make you more money. Real talk, I'm just being honest with you. Sometimes it's blowing your money on other stuff. That means you have to downsize so you can invest more money into your business. Especially young people today, young entrepreneurs. We want the lifestyle before we create the type of work, the material, the career capital that can afford that lifestyle. I'm just saying, I was ranting there. I apologize, guys. But remember, we talk about market research. I really want you guys to be successful. I want to see more success stories from Africa, from entrepreneurs, even all over the world, really, where you are. You could be African, you could be a non-African, you could be related to Africa, you could be an African living outside of Africa, whatever the case may be. I love you guys, and I want to see more success stories. Again, if this video was good, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the page so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. Remember, you guys are very best. I'll see you guys next time.